All right, this is going to be the, I guess, Duke edition, which some people will love and a lot of people will hate, which is normal. So first of all, I'm gonna start though with you guys' opinions so far on the Last Dance, the Michael Jordan biography. Um, Hoffman, you can go ahead and shoot at it. What you think so far? It's he's our era's greatest, I guess, growing
Yeah.
up. So
Yeah,
what do
he
you?
is. I mean, that's definitely my era. That was my era. I've always been a Lakers fan, as you guys know, but and of course, Jordan kind of when he first started winning those championships was when Magic was on his way out. So it was tough for me. I've never been a Jordan fan, but for a 10-part series, I mean, all those ESPN 30 for 30 things are really well done. I think this one's really well done. I like the style of it. It's it's one of those things where it's 10 hours of entertainment that I feel going into it that I'm not going to learn anything new. And I don't think I have yet, but there's still 8 more episodes to go. So I'm hopeful that we will. But, it's chronicling a story, mainly the Jordan story, but certainly the Bull story that a lot of people know. Everybody knows that Pippen had his problems towards the end with that run. And everybody knows Jordan started out, was a great player from the get-go, was great at UNC. So I'm just looking forward to seeing the true insight that we don't know yet about what happened kind of behind the scenes. And I think that'll come out in those next 8 episodes.
Yeah, I agree with Scott. Nothing new or groundbreaking yet, but there's nothing else really to watch, so I'll be there for it. But a couple of takeaways though. Michael Jordan's mom looks pretty good. She looks as good as Jordan right now. Like, she's taking care of herself.
Agreed.
She also calls her husband Mr. Jordan, which I thought was odd. And Michael Jordan has yellow eyes and has a glass of bourbon next to him the whole thing. So his liver's shot. That's my takeaway so far.
Well, my biggest takeaways is a lot of people are jumping on the management about this thing, but a couple things that they did was, number one, they gave Pippen the opportunity. He didn't have to sign that 6-year, $17 million deal, and the owner says, "Are you sure? Because I don't want you coming back." And Pippen even admits he needed that security at that point because, say, he gets an injury like a Greg Oden or Amari Stoudemire, and never ends up being what we saw with Scottie Pippen. He's got $17 million in the bank, and he took that risk and signing that long deal. But then at the end, he's one of the top 50 players, or I'm not going to say he's the second best player in the league ever, because you just don't know that. But a great player and should have been compensated more. But he signed a deal and he took that risk. And also the biggest thing is, I'm not sure how many people would have traded Charles Oakley from that team. You got your enforcer. You're talking about the '80s Pistons. You needed a guy that could protect Jordan's back, and he needed a piece like Bill Cartwright to play center. And then he made a lot of little small moves. The Paxsons, the coup coaches, Greg Hodges, just little small pieces that made that team better. So I think he's getting a raw deal because it looks bad money-wise, but then again, Pippen made over $100 million in his career, so it ain't like he left poor. And he's still a reputable guy in the business. So, all right, so I'm sure everybody will be watching tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, or Curt will probably DVR it and watch it Monday.
I'll watch it Monday morning, man. It's too late for me.
There you go. Anyway, let's move into the Duke thing. Both of you guys, big-time Duke fans. Give me your top 5 plus 1 from the beginning. I mean, from the Leitner days all the way up to the Zion days, anywhere in between. What's your top 5? What's your plus 1? Curt, I'll go with you first.
So we go in each position. I went by each position.
So did I.
You can do whatever. There's no such thing as a position, I feel like, in these days, because you got 7-foot guys handling the basketball and you got 6'6" guys playing forward. So however you want to do it. 5 guys. I don't care how you put them on there.
So it's just top 5. Okay. Anyways.
I don't want 5 guards, 5 forwards, 5 centers, 5 shooters, 5 bench
starting
guys.
5. Just do starting 5. That's
whatever your best 5 are.
It's my best starting 5. Probably nothing groundbreaking, but I'm going to go at point guard, Bobby Hurley, all-time NCAA assist leader, 2 rings. At shooting guard, I'm going J.J. Redick. That's my guy. second all-time leading scorer until Tyler broke it. Still a good shooter today. Small forward, I'm going Grant Hill. Also on that team with Hurley. Power forward, I'm going to go from the new one and done area. I'm going Zion. That's the reason most people cut on college basketball last year and the reason everybody's watching the NBA this year. And then I'm going to put it center since he played center, so I'm going Leitner, best college player of my era. Nobody can argue with that, even if they try. All time, he's got, 4 Final Fours, 2 championships, all-time tournament points scored.
Scoring. Yep.
Yeah. Dream teamer.
barely, but he still made it. I agree.
Who's your bench guy?
My bench guy.
Who's your one guy you didn't list?
Shane Battier.
Good
Wow.
Hoffman, is your list exactly the same as this, or are you different?
We're one off. We're one off. So I obviously got Bobby handling the rock coming down. I got Redick on the wing, jacking up threes. I got Grant Hill, arguably one of the greatest college players of all time, and aside from Leitner, probably the greatest Duke player of all time. I got Leitner in the middle. Now, the power forward was the one where I even considered Zion for a minute, but I was like, I can't do it. I just can't bring myself to do it. I also had Battier under consideration. But I'm going to put, at my 4 spot, I'm going to put Elton Brand. Elton Brand, people don't remember how dominant he was with that late 90s, early 2000 team. And so I got to throw him in there. And then for my bench player, just because I loved him, the Alaskan assassin himself, Trajan Langdon.
I would
shoot. So if you need instant points, go to Langdon. He's my man.
I was thinking Elton Brand. When a lot of people argue great when you only have a one and done, and you got career guys like Hurley, Leitner, Hill, Battier, JJ. Those guys played 3 years or whatever. So there's a body of work. Zion was more height, missed a lot of the season with the injury, and then didn't finish it with a title or a title run. So, but yeah, I mean, Curt in his description is, must see TV, so he gets on the list. I figured it was similar because those are the best 5. All right, so say basketball happens this year or doesn't. I don't know. Say it happens, Duke runs its course. Coach K says, a lot of stress and long and everything else. I need to step away. If you're going to pick a guy right now, and it's in your hands to pick the successor for Mike Krzyzewski, one guy, who you take? Scott, who you got?
Well, there's 2 caveats to this. First of all, whoever takes this spot, it's a no-win position because, Coach K has been there 4 decades plus going on, and no matter what happens, even if the guy comes in, he's still going to have probably good recruiting, good teams for a couple of years, no matter how good a player he is or coach he is. The second caveat is that obviously it's going to be from the Duke lineage. It's going to be one of the guys that's been with him. But that lineage is so long that this was a tough one. I thought about this one for a while. But the guy that I liked that was a leader on the floor when he played for K and that is one of his assistant coaches now, spent some time playing in Israel, is my man Jon Scheyer. I like Jon Scheyer as a leader. I think he's a good coach. I don't know what his technical title is now, associate head coach, assistant coach, whatever it is. But I think he's young enough. I think a lot of other major programs wouldn't give him consideration right now, which is not the case with some of the other guys. I think when Kay leaves, some of those other guys are just going to go get head coaching jobs somewhere else. But I think, again, Scheyer, I don't know. I feel like Scheyer could make a difference, and he's young enough. He can still relate to these college guys. So that's my pick.
Curt?
I'm going to go – he probably would be one of my top 5 players, but he's not really good enough to be on that list. But he's one of my favorite players when he played there. A lot of heart. I'm going Chris Collins, also a former assistant.
Love it.
Dad was a coach, Coach Jordan. He was a ball boy for Jordan, those Bulls teams. Leader on the floor, like all heart. I saw him chest bump Wojo off the bench one time. Did a good job with Northwestern. I think he could fill the role pretty well. Any of those guys could, but
yeah,
you
can go as far back as Johnny Dawkins, and they're everywhere. The guys are everywhere. That were former players and even former assistants. Hell, Billis could come out of the booth and be a coach if he really wanted to. There's just so many options. I don't think there's any bad selections out there.
I think honestly Shire's being groomed to be that pick, because if you see who talks to the on-court reporter at halftime, who talks after the game, very rarely does Coach K take the time to talk, analyze, tell what's going on, give injury updates, any of that. He kind of has put Shire as the face of that department. And I don't know if that's just, hey, this is your job, or I'm grooming you to the next level. I'm not sure. But like you said, Shire was a heck of an athlete. He looks the part. I mean, he looks like Brad Stevens, similarly with the glasses and the coat. He just looks like a professional. But like you said, Johnny D's had several D1 jobs. Tommy Amaker's had several jobs. Wojo and Collins and Capel and, you know, all these guys have still, and hell, Elton Brand and Trajan Langdon are in high up roles in NBA. Yeah. So they all have experience in professional level of basketball. So that's going to be an interesting hiring process. And I'd hate to have to tell any of them 5 or 6 or 10 that ends up being that you're not good enough, unless Coach K is the one who pretty much, you know, hands it down, kind of like how Dean Smith did to Bill Guthridge and on down the line.
Well, now that's the question, though. Do you think that's how it's going to work? Do you think that Coach K he'll obviously have an influence, but will it be a 20% influence or an 80% influence?
Well, it'll be up to him, I think, whether he wants to be the influence. Like, I'm sure Duke will put all their trust into him. Who can you give your program to that it'll remain top 4 or 5 in the country? Who do you trust? And whether he wants to give a full endorsement or he wants to say, well, Collins, Wojo, Johnny D, all of those guys will do great. You figure it out. It'll be interesting to see how he delegates that.
I wouldn't have a problem with Bobby Hurley either. He's not one of the assistants, but I have no problem with Hurley.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
He's got a long lineage of coaching in his family. Dad coached for like 60 years or whatever. So, of course, and Duke would embrace – it's going to be an insider because that's the only person that would embrace. It would be terrible for some outsider to come in and go 9-23 that first year. The whole student section would just crush that guy.
They'd never do that.
It'd be game over. Yeah. All right, moving to Curt's suggested list here. The silly question I get, or I don't know.
Hold on. Why is it my silly question?
Well, off the chart, off the rails of a sports generally biased thing. Just normally we're still talking about sports. Anyway,
what are you, Scott Van Pelt? I'm trying to turn you into more Jimmy Fallon type of guy. A little bit of culture out here.
Thank you. So Curt has brought up during quarantine times, who are the top 5 TV show celebrities that you'd be quarantined with? And I'm gonna start before because I made this simple for my list because I didn't want to walk on Curt. Me and Curt and Scott also grew up in the same area. I didn't want to walk on any of you guys' answers, and so I'm gonna make mine easy, and it's more modern. And if I was to be quarantined with 5 guys, it'll be 4 from one show, and that would be The Ranch, because I think that'd be the easiest living for me with Ashton Kutcher, Masterson, Dak Shepard, Sam Elliott, and then you can throw in Hank from the end of the bar. I mean, I think that whole setting is with me. Or you could even go far back as Cheers, because I'd love to hang out with Norm and Cliff and Woody and Sam, and that, But, I didn't want to go back, and I'm sure Curt's got a lot of weird, different 80s, and probably a couple maybe I would step on. So, Curt, since this is your compartment, I'm going to let you have the floor first with your top 5 and why.
All right. First and foremost, I'm going with my main man, Arthur Fonzarelli, the Fonz. Because you're in a quarantine, who's cooler guy to be with than the Fonz? Last week in Camden, the power went out. The whole city was out. Fonz could just kind of go, and the power come back on. So I'm going with the Fonz. Number 2, I'm going to go with Seth Cohen from the OC. Because seems like a guy I would get along with. He likes some of the same movies, music as me. Similar personalities. So I'm going Seth Cohen, the OC. Also, to keep things interesting and the party rolling, I'm going Steve Sanders from Beverly Hills 90210. Seems like he would keep it interesting, find something fun to do, or some kind of mischief to get into.
Boy.
I'm gonna go with a newer TV character from this decade. I'm gonna go Ruth from Ozark, because everything that comes out of her mouth is hilarious. She's carrying a gun if somebody tries to break in and cause some trouble. And also, she could DJ. She's always listened to some good late 80s or early 90s rap music.
Sure.
Then I'm going to go last. I'm going with my main man, Tony Maselli from Who's the Boss. He can talk sports with you. Former second baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals. He boxed Thomas the Hitman Hearns on there, protect the house. He can cook. He can clean. I mean, what else do you need? Plus, I mean, I don't know about Scott. You're a little younger. Me and Ryan probably had a picture of his daughter on our wall when we were kids. You knife guy in quarantine. He might be like, "Hey, I got this nice guy, Samantha." Saying a lot of benefits of Tony Maselli.
Very good list, Curt. I think. Scott, where do you rank this list on an A through F? Where would you give? Where do you put his list? What's his draft day ranking?
There are some surprises there, but I'm not going to knock his list. Everybody's got their own needs during quarantine time. If you want the Fonz and Who's the Boss in the same room, that's your cross to bear, I suppose.
I seen you shaking your head. I just wondered if you were just taken back or what. I knew Who's the Boss was on there. There was no doubt about that.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous. All right, let me jump in here. I'm not going to lie to you. I struggle with this. I had to think about this for a long time. Namely, because I didn't know what direction you guys were going. Now I know, and I clearly put too much thought into this. But all right, I did have similar thoughts to Curt, though. He's talking about protecting the house. So I got Arya Stark from Game of Thrones, because if she can kill the leader of the White Walkers, then I figure she can protect the house in case things turn for the worst. By the way, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, I know it's been a year. But so Arya Stark. Also, I wanted to get a female presence, but not like in that way, because we're all in relationships on this show. So we're all good from that perspective. I got Ron Swanson, because again, if things go wrong, Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec, he can whittle a chair for somebody if they need a place to sit. He's got gold buried everywhere, so he'd keep us good there. I got Michael Bluth from Arrested Development, just for entertainment purposes. He'd probably try to run things, but mess up all along the way. So I figured that'd be entertaining. Just because it's my favorite show, I got my man Kevin Arnold. We could put on Jets jackets and throw the football around the front yard.
That's a good one.
If we get bored, he can tell me what's going on with Wayne Cooper, whatever. He can keep us informed. And then my last one was kind of a toss-up. I was going back and forth, but I think I'll go with Eric Foreman, because if there's anyone more sarcastic than me, it's Eric Foreman from that 70s show. So we can kind of battle back and forth and make fun of everybody else that we're hanging out with in the quarantine situation. That's my list.
That's a solid list.
I like it.
I was thinking more along the lines. I was thinking all 80.
There it is.
There it is.
You guys back?
Now we're back to recording. Okay, that happened.
I don't know what.
Yeah,
happened.
we're here.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Get Netscape going.
It must be. It must be the AOL
Oh,
disc.
really?
AOL free trial I got. Not sure what's going on.
Free trial right now.
My internet says it's at full blast, but I don't see either of you. All right. Anyway, get to the chips. I'll go ahead and say I'm a original guy, a plain guy, generally. Pringles, Lay's, whatever, original chips. I know you guys are probably a little more different. I think Curt's probably a little more off the grid too. So I'm a Pringles, baked Lay's, and I'll eat salt and vinegar chips and maybe Doritos, but I don't get into them real big. But Hoffman, I know you eat a lot of stuff, trying to keep it up while you more active than I am, of course, and even more than Curt, even though he's active as well. But what's your snack? What's your go-to when you grab a sack of chips?
So this was easy for me. The top three were easy. The fourth one had a little bit of trouble. But the top one is Doritos. I've always said, you give me a bag of Doritos, if I have no reason to stop, I'm going to eat the entire bag, even family size. Like Doritos, I can just kill, no problem. They're delicious. Second is Cheetos, very close second. Same thing there. I love Cheetos, regular Cheetos, not the puff Cheetos, the regular Cheetos. I like a little crunch. Third, I know I'm going to steal this from Curt, obviously, but it's Fritos. I'm not a huge fan of the aftertaste of Fritos, but as Ryan's wanting to kill himself right now, but as they're going down, the taste of Fritos is delicious. I just love it. And then my fourth one is, I haven't had them in a long time, but I was thinking about it when I was putting this list together, and it's the Ruffles Mesquite Barbecue. I love a good barbecue chip, and again, very good crunch on the Ruffles. So that's my Mount Rushmore.
What's the one you don't? If somebody hands you a bag of
I'm
chips,
gonna
oh, Curt. Scott, what's the one you won't go with?
go. Sorry.
Anything sour cream and onion. I'm not a big sour cream and onion guy. My wife loves them. I hate them. So anything sour cream and onion, I'm keep on going down the road.
Okay. Now, Curt, go ahead.
All right. Skins, cheddar.
Sorry.
Those are good.
Huh?
I'm sorry. Go
Those
ahead.
are good. That's like, it's not even like with the main chip. It's like on an off aisle. This is the gourmet chip section. So I'm going with that one. Then I'm going with Cool Ranch Doritos. I like the Cool Ranch a little better. I also like the taco ones that they just came out with, the old bag. Third, I'm gonna go with the Lay's kettled sea salt and cracked pepper. Kind of my go-to here lately.
Fancy.
And last is one that they don't make anymore. It's the barbecued Fritos.
Oh yeah.
They've gone to the honey barbecue twist now, which aren't bad, but I like the old barbecued Fritos. Probably my favorite. And my throwaway is anything plain. I'm not down with the plain chips unless there's like a dip.
I just don't understand the Fritos. I've never liked them, and I don't know why. I mean, I'm not knocking you for liking them, but I just hate the taste of them. Something about them I just don't like. I don't know. I love like chips and salsa, and they're similar to like tortilla chips, but I can't stand them.
So it's not the texture then. I figured it was the texture.
I don't know what it is. This is something I don't like. And as I've gotten older, I like plain, I guess. And Curt's older than me, so it ain't got nothing to do with age. I just like plain. And usually, if I go to a sub shop, I get the baked version of either baked regular or baked barbecue. I don't know. Maybe it's because they're dry. Maybe I don't like greasy chips anymore. I used to be a salt and vinegar guy. I don't know what happened. Hoffman, you watched any of the draft? Anything interested in the NFL draft the last couple of days?
I watched a little bit. Yeah, I wanted to see where Isaiah Simmons was going to go. Obviously, I'm a Clemson guy, so I wanted to see where he and T. Higgins were going. But yeah, no surprises. I mean, I think the draft kind of went the way there were some surprises. Obviously, the Utah State quarterback thing, everybody's talking about that. But I'm not a big NFL draft guy, and especially this virtual draft thing is just weird. Watching all these people in their homes, and I don't know. I need a big stage like the NBA draft and the NFL draft have always been historically. I need the guys walking across, dapping up the commissioner. I like seeing that sort of stuff, and having it all virtual is just
I'm not watching it.
You what?
I'm following through you and Reedbelt's group text product. So I'm not following it. I'm just going through you and Reedbelt's group text NFL draft roundup.
Well, I like Hoffman said, there really wasn't a lot of surprises. Isaiah Simmons could have went from 4 to 15th, and it was good. He went higher than lower. But like you said, you got Aaron Rodgers, who's probably the top 5 quarterback in the league, and you draft a project quarterback. I mean, if you would have drafted Tua, maybe I could halfway see what you're doing, like when they have Favre and drafted Rodgers. But Love is a project. The Eagles got $100 million tied up in Carson Wentz, and they went and got Jalen Hurts. Well, I don't see where he fits in that. When you got other holes, I mean, if you're an 8-8 football team, you obviously need more players. As a Clemson fan, I don't know how you not become a Las Vegas, number one, because it's Las Vegas, but number two, the Raiders draft Clemson guys every year. They got 3 more, I think, this year. I don't know what Gruden and Dabo's what they got going on. But obviously there's some kind of pipeline there because Tanner Muse ends up going there as well just yesterday. So I don't know. It's interesting. It gives us something to watch. I think it set the record for the most watches, just like the Jordan thing and just like anything that's relative to sports right now. I think we're so hungry for it. Netflix is, I mean, you can't watch so much. You can't binge watch TV shows so much. So hopefully I talked to a guy yesterday who used to play in the league, and he said they're working on some way to try to get baseball back, but it still won't be before June. Schools are all obviously out. There won't be any spring or summer baseball as far as that goes. So I'm just hoping we get something back. I guess the Heritage and Hilton Head is scheduled for June maybe. So maybe we'll actually have something new to talk about instead of documentaries and 30 for 30s and potato chips coming up. You got anything else, Scott? I know you browse the sports world. Anything you got pressing going on? I really don't have a lot other than, the Duke conversation for you guys, Jordan, and then, potato chips.
I mean, there's nothing else going on. Like you said, the draft was the only live thing going on this week. Obviously, the Jordan thing is 25 years old, but it's something to talk about. But yeah, I mean, in terms of sports, I'm just anxious and curious to see when things will be scheduled to start again. Will the NBA start up with the playoffs at some point in June and July? Will they do it in a Las Vegas convention hall like they're talking about? Will college football look the same this fall? I know you and I talked about that a few weeks ago with my brother, but I don't know. I don't know at this point. I think the games will happen regardless, but will they happen with, 90,000 fans in the stands? There's too many unknowns still at this point, and hopefully we'll start to get some answers soon.
Yeah, the college, especially the pro, they could set it up because it's only 32 teams. You start talking about colleges, you're talking about 100 D1s and then hundreds of D2s, NAIA, and other ones that, are non-scholarship. It's going to be an interesting dynamic of how to do that. And 75% of the money comes from the fans, where NFL, 75% comes from TV, licensing, merchandise. They don't need boost. They don't have boosters. They don't have guys giving $10,000 so they can park in the parking lot. So it's going to be interesting economically. And, we talked about this too, the trickle down to Title IX, the women's swimming or the women's soccer or the men's lacrosse. They don't bring in any money. And it'll be interesting to see how that breaks down. Curt, you got anything upcoming on TV? I know. Give me the breakdown on the Beastie Boys documentary on Apple TV if you will.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good watch. I enjoyed it. Breakdown just tells you the whole it's kind of done as a live documentary, so it's like the two remaining members on stage, and then it kind of goes to footage from the past. It's 2 hours long. It's good entertainment. It's funny. It's really funny, but kind of heartfelt at the end. Worth the watch. Worth the 7-day free trial of Apple Plus.
Anything else?
I was going to ask y'all think I was going to say y'all think they're going to play the NBA this year? Finish it.
I think they will. I think they'll find a way. I think even if they have to do the quarantine teams in Vegas, make the first couple rounds best of 3 or best of 5, something to shorten it. I think having an asterisk by the 2020 season where there's no champion, no, don't give out any awards. The NBA I don't think they'd allow that to happen. I think they'll figure out a way to at least get into playoffs. They might not play any more regular season games, but I think they'll get the playoffs in.
Yeah, and even. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I listened to JJ Redick's podcast, and he had whoever the female assistant coach is for the Celtics on there, and they were both kind of saying they need at least a month to get ready to even play again. So you got to factor that. I mean, you can get to where it's training camp time again for next season by the time this is all said and done.
Well, but if they do it, they'll push back next season. They'll start next season in December or something. They might do that anyway at the rate this is going, just to allow people to feel more comfortable at being in stadiums again. The further back you can push that, the better.
I just wonder what they'll do with numbers. I mean, you're talking about 16 teams. You're talking about 15 guys per team. If you count the 3 that sit on the end of the bench, you don't play. So you're talking about that, and then another 25 or 30 people per organization. So you're talking 50 or 60 times 16, you're up in almost 1,000 people plus officials and NBA people. So, maybe, and I know nobody wants to get cut out, but maybe you can't go 16. And if you do go 16, maybe you go 3-game series, 3-game series just to get it in. I mean, you see what the ratings are doing on TV. Imagine LeBron versus the Trailblazers, or whoever it is. That 3 games is going to and they may have to play noon, 3, 6, 9, and midnight just to get it in. But they're gonna have to do something, and the ratings will be, crazy, and that's where they make their money. So hopefully they figure it out. It sucks that we didn't have March Madness, because that's, even if you don't like basketball, you watch that. It's gonna be odd and different for these sports at different times of the years. But even with the NFL draft, you're a first round pick and you're about to sign some money. There's no guarantee those guys play or how they play or what it'll be. And you're still putting 100 people in the same building, even without fans. It only takes one Rudy Gobert possibly to ruin that whole thing. You got Sean Payton, the coach from the Saints, had it. And several other players have had it as well. Von Miller from the Broncos. So you get one guy in the locker room, he gives it, and then it's going to spread like wildfire with all the practices. And then, like you talked about too, the training. I mean, these guys, intense training, especially football in the heat in September. It's a whole new dynamic, because normally they're all training right now. They're still staying in shape, but they can't do anything. They can't meet. They can't, and not very many people are disciplined enough to, I'm sure LeBron's probably doing his thing, but, I'm sure James Harden's maybe put on 20 pounds right now. So, it'll be interesting to see. And then you talk about, big linemen who are paid to be 300 pounds that are 340 now, and they got to get that weight off. So it's going to be interesting. Hopefully we get something back. I'm ready to watch anything. They talked about doing a Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning golf thing. That's great. I'll watch every bit of that. We'll pay $9.99 to watch it if I have to, just because it's something unique. I'm not paying for the horse that ESPN put on, because that was the worst thing I've ever seen. But I don't know.
There's one thing I've noticed from listening to your little podcast here lately on your concern for the fat lineman getting shit for the NFL season. Like, you're really worried about it. Like you're concerned for the fats, man.
It's top priority. Top priority.
Well,
you're not sure about it.
Well, like I said, Trevor Lawrence can walk out right now and spin it 30 times, good to go. He may not be able to run, or he may need a little more oxygen or Gatorade, but he can get through a full game. I'm not so sure that, Javon Kinlaw, who just got drafted from South Carolina, he's 325, probably 345 now. I'm not so sure he could go out and bang for 3 hours. I think T. Higgins is 185. He can probably run 40-yard dashes and catch footballs all day. I'm worried about the fat guys, man, because over the last couple of years, I went up in weight class. I used to be a lightweight, and now I'm light heavyweight. So I worry about the fat guys in the heat, man. You gotta look after them. I'm glad you pointed that out.
I've noticed your concern.
So, all right, guys, that was a nice little rundown. Hopefully, the next one we'll be talking about the playoffs, what we're looking at in the NBA playoffs, maybe what we're talking about in football. Maybe what just happened at the Heritage, the Masters. Baseball. I mean, I know you live in a
Snack crackers.
Who?
Maybe snack crackers.
Hey, we get that will definitely be. There will be a Rushmore of some sort, probably candy next or soda.
What? I just want to know what category combos fits into, because they're on the list for
crackers.
Whatever they're
combos,
they're on the list.
Ritz Bits with cheese, Cheez-Its, any baked cracker. That's where combos falls in.
Okay, baked crackers.
Or it could go in with the pretzels, though, because you got the pretzel version of combos. There's a lot of different ways you could go, man. Who knows?
Combo is versatile, man. It's a lot of lists for
I think, well, since it didn't get used in this chip bracket, we'll use it in the bag of snacks bracket. Whatever your go-to when you the 2 o'clock when you need to bridge the gap. That'll go in the bridge the gap file. You can use combos or Skittles or M&Ms or Toasty crackers, whatever fits in your.
That's a big one.
Just don't go Fritos if you can help it. Save the breath. All right, guys. Appreciate the time. Y'all have a good Saturday. We'll get to y'all when the NBA playoffs get back together. I'll pull y'all in and we'll talk about what we're looking forward to. Maybe LeBron won't be 295 at that point. I'm looking out for JaVale McGee. He might be sloppy fat. Curt, I know you got something to say.
Oh, I was just going to congratulate Scott on his nuptials. I haven't had a chance to congratulate him.
Thank you, Curt. I appreciate that.
Good point. You got married before the Zoom wedding started going off, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, beat that one by a few months.
All right, guys. Enjoyed it. Talk to y'all later. Have a good weekend.
You got it.